Welcome back to the shop. We got an old one here. It is a Wesley Manufacturing Company check stamper. It's pretty neat. It functions just fine. You take a check, I don't have a check, and feed it in to the side and adjust your dial here. And it has 0 through 9 and a star and a dollar symbol. You just press the button down, and I just happen to have it on the number 5 there, and you can see that it punches a hole. It's supposed to advance the check. You can see that everything functions, but I think it's a little gummed up. This whole thing could use a real cleaning. I don't know if this is called Japanning or not, but this type of matte black finish is really hard to replicate. So I think that this project might be more of a clean up and reassemble and just try to make it look good again. I don't think I would be able to do a very good job with this in terms of replicating that finish. So we're going to disassemble it. And I'm hoping that it's not more complicated than what I can see from the inside here, or from the outside. It doesn't have a lot of moving parts, just a couple springs here and there, so I think I can get it disassembled and reassembled without, tempting fate too much.
Forgetting about them, I'm fluffing air. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to have anything in here.
So this is pretty interesting. From what I've read, this was a mechanism to combat check fraud. So if you wrote a number on a check, you could go through and say, well, if I need to, let's say it was $10. You come over and you put it on the 1. and then it auto rotates it, advanced it a little bit, and you come over to 0. And then you'd have, can you see that? That 10 punched into the card. There was a small indelible ink pad in there. I sort of butchered it trying to get it out of there, but there was red ink at one point in time, and the little teeth that make these perforations would have dyed that red, which would have made it very hard to counterfeit a check. I unearthed this over at my grandfather's shop a couple years ago, and my dad had to tell me what it was. He passed away earlier this week. It's nice to be able to come out in the shop and tinker with things, you know, to keep your mind occupied. It's, you know, he was struggling there towards the end, so I miss him, but at the same time, you know, being able to come out in the shop and tinker and work on things is a good way to keep your mind occupied. And you know, let time, you know, do what it does. And with regard to the channel, it's sort of weird. My mom loved the channel. She always had great comments. She loved Scoutcrafter's channel. And my dad didn't really like the YouTube stuff that much at first. He sort of poo-pooed it, and more often than not was more critical than I would have liked about my channel. He'd say, oh, you know, that you could have done this better. It was, you know, constructive criticism. Well, sometimes it was just criticism. but occasionally it was constructive. And I mean, it took a while for him to warm up to the YouTube crowd. But, you know, there towards the end, we're in a hospital, and he just looks at the... Well, I wasn't in the room, I was outside. And I hear him talking to the nurse, and he says, I just want to go home and sit on my porch with my dog and watch Scoutcrafter. so he finally turned around on the YouTube stuff and watched my channel a little bit more often and watched a lot of the other guys, you know, Scoutcrafter especially. But he'll be missed.